Young and the Restless, Y&R. Vandals tease that Sharon Newman and Ray Rosales don't seem to be a destined couple together. Not everyone actually does on soap. Even the most faithful couples tend to face breakups along the way. Ray and Sharon seem to be a couple more, not a pair that seems to exist forever. However, Y&R can easily go the other way once Sharon's cancer battle is over and new romantic options open. Young and the Restless's Vandals point out some problems between Amanda and Nate Hastings. Before the new episodes run out, there are some hints about Nate and Amanda facing a number of challenges. We haven't seen these challenges yet, so they still have to come. There is no guarantee that Amanda and Nate will stick together as a couple after Y&R returns to production. Amanda will work with a lot of other people on canvas, but what about Ray? It is the least option worth considering. Ray spoke with Amanda at the Thanksgiving event for the homeless last year. While Amanda is working on all the Ripley Turner TV series, Ray also helps with that. It was great to see Ray giving Amanda gentle reassurance about that awful situation. Amanda and Ray seem to be able to have some hot chemistry if given the real opportunity to show it. Y&R clearly intends to accompany Sharon and Adam Newman at a time. Shadam's reunion in that corner was cancelled, which led to bringing Adam back to Chelsea Lawson. At that time they didn't have much choice about love or conspiracy, and so was Sharon. In a way, it feels like the Young and the Restless just threw Shay away back for this cancer battle. To be fair, it's a good idea in context. Sharon Case and Jordi Villa-Sousa both have some intriguing material from the film given to their characters. If Sharon and Ray break up, they will need new love interests. Amanda and Ray may be a path that writers The Young and the Restless plan to follow. When other Y&R news and updates appear, we will turn over all the details. Fans can remember the main characters very well, but those are easy to forget minor characters, like Callie in The Young and the Restless. Originally described by Michelle Thomas starting in July 1998, in the fall, the actress took a leave of absence and she sadly passed away in December of that year. The role was remade with Sienna Goins, who continued to play Callie until 2000. Callie Rogers is a singer and ex-girlfriend of Malcolm Winters, who surprised him back to life in Geneva. She had a good time, because his marriage to Olivia Winters had just broken, but they had a hard time reviving their relationship when she had a dominant husband, Trey Stark. He is also her manager to sing the show and control her step by step. Malcolm offered to step aside so she could move towards her marriage, but Callie clearly didn't want to stay with Trey. Eventually, Callie broke up with Trey as soon as Malcolm's divorce with Olivia was completed, and they could continue their relationship and even get engaged. Unfortunately, Malcolm discovered that Callie was still legally married to Trey and pressured her to divorce. Trey refused to let her go and Callie's indecision made Malcolm disappointed. After Malcolm broke up with her, Callie finally left the city of Geneva. John Abbott occasionally appears on The Young and Restless, even though he has been dead for years. The character first appeared on soap in 1980 and was played by Brett Halsey until Jerry Douglas took over in 1982 and continued to represent Abbott through Y&R until his death. 2006 and more. John Abbott runs Jabot Cosmetics and is the father of 3 children, Jack Abbott, Ashley Abbott, and Tracy Abbott. Jack often nods to his father about business dealings and he also disagrees when John relates to the woman. Jill was younger and eventually married her. When Jack also had an affair with Jill, the couple's photos caused John to have a stroke. When recovering, John divorced Jill and kicked Jack out of Jabot, replacing him with Brad Carlton. John had a brief relationship with Joanna Manning and Ellen Winters, but put the love life aside when Ashley disappeared. He found her in a mental institution in New York with amnesia and took her home to recover. Next, John joined Christine's mother, Jessica, who kept it a secret that she was about to die of AIDS. Finding out the truth, John still married her until her husband came to town and he stepped down. But John was one of Jessica's loved ones when she died. After John brought Jabot to the public, Victor Newman took over and the shock shocked John, so Jack stepped in to try and bring the family business back. John reconciled with Jill and they remarried in 1993. Although John protested that he was too old, Jill wanted to have a baby and get pregnant before he could have a vasectomy cut. She refused his request. She had an abortion and gave birth to William Billy Foster Abbott. Although John loves his son, he divorces Jill when she cheats on him. He rekindled things with his first wife Dina Mergeron when she arrived in Geneva, but she soon left town once again. John gained custody of Billy and temporarily moved to New York to raise him. John returned to Geneva with a teenager Billy and joined the family to maintain Abbotts' control. He started dating Gina Roma and brought with his troubled niece Colleen Carlton for a while. In 2004, John became fascinated with Gloria Fisher, and upon returning from a journey, they were man and wives. Jack doesn't care as long as his father is happy, but Ashley refuses to accept his new stepmother. When John discovers Michael and Kevin are her sons, he feels cheated and asks for a divorce but falls down the stairs and has hip replacement surgery. When Gloria looked after John healthy again, he soon forgave her. He also dismissed Ashley as CEO and took over Abbott until he found a suitable replacement. Gloria tricked John into giving her a large sum of money that he thought was going to Michael's wedding but was actually blackmail payments for her ex-husband, Tom Fisher. When John found out, he met Tom instead of Gloria, and in their fight his gun exploded and Tom was killed. John drove and had an accident, so he had no memories of that night. Ashley tried to admit to killing Tom, but when John remembered the truth, he pleaded guilty and went to jail. Unfortunately, just before being pardoned, John suffered a severe stroke and was left in a vegetative state. When he signed a DNR, John's family followed his wishes and said goodbye when he died. Abbott freezes Gloria gives her the wrong time for the funeral and organizes a small gathering for the close family. They were also horrified to learn that Gloria inherited 50% of John's fortune, but it turned out that John had written Gloria out of his will, and their marriage was null and void anyway. Because she never legally divorced with Tom. In the years that followed, John's spirit visited his family, often Jack's conscience, giving advice to his son. Although he also appeared with Ashley in 2015 when she suffered from a brain aneurysm. Stay tuned to see if John will make any future visits to his family from outside the grave. Young and the Restless, Y&R, Vandals on Tuesday, June 2nd, teasing that viewers will be able to watch a Y&R episode aired on September 17, 1999. This episode be part of a special week in the Abbott family. In the episode, Jack Abbott, Peter Bergman, will give John Abbott a meaningful gift. Jack will tell his father that he regrets saying that he brought Abbott to the public, because that led to them losing the company. Jack will say that since then, he has one goal: bring the company back. Next on Y&R, Paul Williams will try to convince Mackenzie housemaid Browning to stay, reminding her of his promise to kinda Chancellor. Mac will complain about Jill Abbott accusing her of stealing a lighter, and it seems that Jill is willing to do anything to get rid of her. Mac wanted to leave, but Paul would think that if Mac left now, Jill won. Paul will think that Mac should stand up and stay until kinda returns. Meanwhile, Victoria Newman will see Nikki Newman, Melody Thomas Scott, and Brad Carlton, Don Diamont, dancing in a restaurant. Annoyed, Victoria would approach Nikki when she returned to the table and Brad stopped calling. Victoria would chase after her mother for being there with Brad, and she would ask Nikki to leave with her. Nikki will refuse. Victoria will finally take off, with Brad watching. Nikki will complain to Brad that Victoria doesn't want her to have a life of her own. Brad would say he was there for her, and the two would kiss and canoodle at the table. Jack will continue, explaining that when he took over Newman Enterprises, he wanted Victor Newman to know how he felt about losing the company, just as he and John did. Jack will then reveal that he went to Victor to relinquish ownership of Newman Enterprises, including his generous pension package, if Victor would return Abbott to the Abbott family. John would say that Victor would never do that, but Jack would tell him that Victor agreed with it. When John tears, Jack will tell him that Abbott belongs to him. John will overcome emotions, and Jack will say that John should return to the leadership position of the company, with himself and Ashley Abbott at his side. John will be glad. Nick Newman will go home when Sharon Newman is listening to a man playing guitar and singing. Turns out, the man will audition at the cafe. Nick and Sharon will discuss how they don't want Victor or Nikki to know they currently own the cafe. Nick will also share that Victor is back at leadership position at Newman Enterprises again, and then they will return home to celebrate. Next on Y&R, Ashley will visit Victor at the office. Victor would be surprised to see Ashley, because he would think the Abbotts would celebrate when Abbott returned. Ashley will say she wants to thank Victor for letting John take over the company. Victor will say it is because she is like John. Next on Y&R, Malcolm Winters and Olivia Winters will have some tough news to give Nate Hastings. Malcolm will go home, with Nate happy to see him, and while Nate leaves the room, Malcolm and Olivia will discuss how they will tell Nate about their divorce. Nate will be back, and Malcolm and Olivia will sit down at Nate and explain how breaking the promise is, and how difficult it really is to fulfill that promise. Olivia will say that she and Malcolm cannot resolve their differences, and Nate will wonder if they are really trying. Malcolm will say they have. Nate will quickly realize that Olivia and Malcolm are about to divorce, and he will be sad. Back at the office, Victor will call Ramona Caceres to congratulate her on the report she sent to the pharmaceutical company and ask her to attend the seminar on behalf of the company. Victoria would come over and overhear the conversation, upset with her father for speaking to Ramona. Victoria will also talk to Victor about how Nikki talks about having another child. Victor would think that sounded ridiculous, and Victoria would ask if that was how Victor reacted to Nikki when she brought it up. Victor will say that he tries to be gentle with Nikki, and he will refuse when Victoria asks him to rethink his decision. Victor would think that Victoria should not encourage her mother's imagination in her life. Follow Young and the Rusty Vandals, updates and latest news.